Welcome to African Canadian Voice, ACV. ACV hopes and wishes that everybody of you is safe and you follow the safety guidelines that are given by the healthcare professionals. And as you know, COVID-19 has affected the way we work, the way we do our everyday things, and ACV is not different. Some of its work is going to be online, and we're going to be using video conferencing to do our work, although some of the work will continue the way it was, but some of the work will have to go online. And today I'm going to present to you a young poet by the name Fozia Agbonhin, a young poet that was born in Saudi Arabia from Nigerian families, and later on they immigrated to Canada, and she grew up in here. And she is one of the most outstanding young upcoming writers and poets, because in a previous episode we covered her poem, and she promised us to write a book, and definitely she did that. And today we're going to be talking about her book, and we'll see what has to say about her accomplishments. Welcome to our show, Fozia. I'm glad to have you in here at the African Canadian Voice, ACV. And you delivered on your promise. You promised us to publish a book, and you did that. And today our focus will be around that. But for the sake of introducing yourself to our audience, please tell us a little bit about your background and the process.
Hi, Tess. It's so nice to be here again. And so I am a Nigerian Canadian poet. I am 19, just turned 19, and I have been performing at different venues all across London for the past, I would say, 2 to 3 years. I am on the team for London, the official team for London. I've been in 2 national competitions. I recently came 4th place with my team at the last national competition I was in Guelph in 2019. And yeah, that's just a bit about me.
Yeah, the last time I met you, when we were doing the first interview, you told us you were going to write a book, and definitely you hit the mark and published a book. How was the process?
The process for my book was a very tiresome one. It took a lot of mental stamina and discipline. There were so many times when it was like 3 a.m. and I wanted to quit, and I was just so tired, because you kind of have to read through the book over and over and over again. You have to comb through, and I actually didn't even get professional editing for this book. I got family members who were scholars, like English scholars, to read through the book. And I kind of did this whole thing with myself because it was self-published. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's so amazing that I was able to come out with it. It's right here with me, actually, if you would like to see it. It's called I Never Truly Hated You. But yeah, the process was a long one, a tiresome one.
I assume, and I'm sure that so many people were involved in terms of making this a reality, although you are the prime mover. What was the motivation for all this? Burning the midnight candle to do all the work, and sometimes we are so tired and we wanted to quit, like you said, but there was something that was pushing you forward. What was that grain of momentum that was growing up and growing and making you continue?
I have so many poems that are about Black rights. I have poems that are about women's homophobia, poems because I'm a Muslim. All of my poems are something that happened to me, or something that happened to somebody that I know. All my poems are personal experiences that I've written down and kind of twisted in a way to kind of present to the world and help the world heal, or help myself heal as well. So what really kept me going was the idea that somebody might need these poems, and somebody might need them to get through whatever they were going through, whatever I had to go through to get to where I am now. Because when I grew up, there were a lot of things that I didn't have. I didn't have a lot of representation from media for Black children. You know, I didn't grow up with a Black Disney female. That came later. That came for the kids that came after me. So these poems, I'm hoping that they touch the lives of children that are coming after me, so that they kind of have things that I didn't have growing up.
That's quite interesting because the intersection of race, gender, being in the minority, and religion, all these things have to play a role in terms of making you the person you are, and you channel the energies and the problems and all that come and intersect and change them into something that helps other people. And was the process very easy, or was it sometimes certain emotions come and feelings surface, or how was it?
It definitely wasn't easy. I feel like people see the finished product and they think that like they simplify what had to go into creating an entire book, and they kind of assume that like kind of anybody can do it, and definitely anybody can do it, but it takes a lot of mental stamina. It takes a lot of mental upheavals. There were a lot of emotional mountains that I had to climb to actually publish this book. Like I said before, I was up sometimes till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and I'm a first year university student, right? So, there were times when I had finals, when I had exams, and I kind of had to, study for my exams and also make sure that I get the deadline for this book. So that was a lot. That was really tiresome. It took a lot of mental restraint. It took a lot of discipline to make sure that I got it done on time. And also it involved me having to kind of make sure that other people were in check as well, because this book also has a bunch of illustrations on a lot of the poems. So my illustrator, I had to hire her. I had to make sure that she got things done on time. My editors, I had to make sure that they were doing things on time. So kind of just like being in charge of a bunch of people, and like assigning tasks and roles to people and making sure that they get it done on time, all that stuff. It was a lot.
We're back from the commercial, and we'll be continuing talking to Fozia about her work, her published book. And coming back to the title of the book, I mean, you gave the title of the book, "I Never Truly Hated You."
Mm-hmm.
How did that come into the fore as a title?
Mm-hmm. So this book, it's kind of the entire book is kind of like a healing process for not just me, but also like any colored child who had to grow up experiencing racism or lack of representation, or any sort of form of oppression that they had to experience. Like, you can be female and white and have to experience oppression, anything. And this entire book is kind of my tribute to myself, my kind of self-love journey. And I even had my illustrator draw kind of like a Black girl. It was supposed to be me in the front. And the name kind of comes from the idea of, because of a lot of the things that I had to see growing up, a lot of the movies I had to watch on slavery and just like racial segregation, prejudice, all these things that you kind of have to learn as a child. If you are a Black child or a colored child, any type of minority, it becomes really hard for you to not see yourself in the eyes of your oppressors. It becomes really hard for you to grow up and see that there are people out there who will hate you for your skin color, and your race and your ethnicity, and then not begin to subtly hate yourself, I think. And a lot of children are going through that. I know that I definitely went through that. It took a lot of strength and courage to pull myself out of that kind of whirlpool of self-hatred. And it's like hatred for your skin, hatred for your hair, hatred for your religion, all those things, right? And so this poem is called "I Never Truly Hated You," because it's kind of me telling myself that I'm like, no matter like how mean I've been to you in the past, no matter how rude, no matter like the words that I've said to you, at the end of the day, I never truly hated you, and I actually love you. So that's why I named this book "I Never Truly Hated
Could you tell the kind of story that weaves into all these uh, chapters of the book you wrote? Although I want also to share with us one or two of them for our audience so that they can have a taste.
You. Yeah, of course. I have one poem that I want to share with you guys.
Okay.
It's called "The Great American Melting Pot." It's kind of This specific poem is about being an immigrant child. Whether you are like, I'm the first generation immigrant child in my family. My parents are originally from Nigeria, and then they moved here when I was really really little, like in grade 1. So Canada is all I've ever known. The Great American Melting Pot. In 1914, Ford established an English school for the immigrants he had brought to America. On July 4th of that same year, there was a graduation ceremony. Every graduate of the English school stood in a room filled with sanctimony. They wore native gowns and walked onto a stage that lowered them down in this extravagant bowl-like figure, the Great American Melting Pot. When the graduates were raised back up, they were wearing Americanized clothes and accessories. This was Ford's way of ridding these people of their history. This is his way of stripping layers of culture away. This is his way of forcing them to conform. When I learned of this, I asked my parents about their experience with immigration. They said, "Daughter, our beauty does not look like beauty here. The future belongs to those who don't sleep, work tireless nights and tireless days. The future belongs to those who eat and breathe the American dream. This melting pot will mold you into a version of yourself that your motherland will not recognize. It will engrave red and white onto your skin. You will lose your mother tongue if you don't begin to fraternize with it. I know you say you want to be like me when you grow up, but you won't be. No, you are the first generation for a reason. You will not have to take the bleeding, the beating, the dreaming of a better life. You will ease into freedom easier than I did. Assimilation will not be eradication for you. Adaption will not be extermination for you. You carry my native tongue in your mouth. This melting pot is trying to give you third-degree burns. They are trying to carve your homeland out of your chest. They are trying to rip your tongue out of you, forcing you to memorize a language that does not know how to express you, how to pronounce you, forcing you to warp your body until you can't even recognize you. When you were a child, I cried many nights knowing you'd eventually face people who knew what different looked like, who knew what different smelled like. My child, there's some borders you can't walk through, some barriers you can't break down with your bare hands. There are fences you cannot climb. There are battles you will win only to reach the horizon and see a barren land, one that does not want you, one that does not accept you, one that will ask you to go back home to ruins, my daughter. Don't waste time trying to explain something to someone who is not interested in understanding it. It will leave you tired, and we cannot rest here. My daughter, don't lose your peace trying to find your place in this world, because it will leave you tired. You can never rest here. If I was just muscle and bone, would I still spend hours of my day trying to impress a society of hypocrites? Would confidence act as a stepping stone instead of a reason to be called ratchet and ghetto? Would I finally recognize myself in the words that tumble out of a boy's mouth as he described?
Inviting the young generation into poetry and the stuff you do. what would you say for a young person who wants to do the same thing like you?
So I was inspired by the past director of spoken word poetry. Her name is Holly Painter. She's not the director anymore because she is now a teacher, but she actually came to my school, and then she was doing poetry workshops, and I was selected to be one of the people that should do a workshop with her. Um, and after she had my poetry, she told me that I should go to the poetry slams that are happening in London. I knew that there were poetry slams happening in London, but I didn't exactly go to them or have any interest in participating. But she was the person who kind of pushed me into the poetry scene. And it wasn't until I actually went to a poetry slam and heard all this beautiful poetry, that I even had the courage to go up on stage and do an open mic. And then after doing an open mic, I got so much good feedback back, and then I decided to kind of start competing. And and then I kept going, and people kept giving me good feedback and constructive criticism, and and then I found myself on the team for London. So I feel like the first thing that people should to do, if they're interested in poetry, go to a poetry slam. Listen to poetry on YouTube. Listen to Button Poetry's poetry. Search up poets. Read poetry. That's what you should be doing if you're actually interested in becoming a part of this, because it's such an accepting and loving community, and anybody can do it. But it takes time, and it takes dedication, and it takes stamina, because it is a lot. It does take a bit to get up on stage and talk to a whole crowd of people that you don't know about something that may be super personal to you. Because all my poems, they're all coming from a place deep inside of me. Like, I'm being vulnerable to a crowd of people that I do not know, right? And not a lot of people can do that. But if you think that you can, then you have to get up on stage. You have to do open mics. You have to be willing to accept any type of criticism or feedback that comes at you. And you can't let criticism disbar you. You can't let that deter you, because a lot of the times people will get up on stage and they'll perform, and they may not get the feedback that they want, and they'll think that they're not good, and that they can never be good. That's the thing about poetry. I have some poems that have gotten horrible scores, but at the end of the day, you have to keep going. That's just the case with I think anything, but with poetry especially, you have to keep going, because the only way that you can get better is if you continue to write and if you continue to practice.
So the message is basically a young person who wants to be like you has to be inspired, has to hone himself by practicing that and exposing himself to different situations where he could learn a lot of things. And I hope this inspires a lot of young people like you to bring the inner voice out and share what they have. And what he told us is the lived experience where the religion, gender, and race intersect, and how you meld it together into something that's useful and beneficial.
It's just about being perseverant, continuing, like, no matter what people say. At the end of the day, if you have passion for something, the only way that you can get great at it is to believe in yourself more than anybody else is ever going to be able to believe in you. Because the way people jump onto the bandwagon of your dream is if you believe in yourself so hard, and they're like, you know what, we can't deter this person from their dream. People will support you, and they will love you as long as you don't let anything shake you or break you. That is the way, because at the end of the day, like, you're gonna get people who don't like you, but at the end of the day, you're gonna get so many people who love you and want to hear what you have to say. So that has to be the driving factor always.
Yeah, the driving motor is always the motivation and staying the course no matter what. Well, ACV will be continuing with this discussion with Fozia, but let's take a break. In terms of availability of your book, what are the channels currently you are using?
Yeah, so my book is available on Amazon. I uploaded a sample of it on Wattpad as well. Um, but yes, it's on Amazon. If you search up "I Never Truly Hated You," it will be there.
And I want also to ask you, when you first launched it, your book, you launched it at the Black History closing ceremony,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that, the kind of feedback and things you got?
Yeah, of course. Oh my goodness, that was the best day of my life. Um, and it's crazy because I didn't imagine that my book launch was gonna be as big as it actually was. The fact that Silence Genty, who's the main organizer for the Black History Month closing gala, um, offered to want to merge my book launch with the closing gala Black History Month. That was amazing. So many people bought my book. Like there was a whole lineup of people who wanted to purchase my book, and like I was so ecstatic. I didn't even know what to do with myself. And there were so many kids and black kids, little girls and little boys who were coming up to me and telling me that they loved my poetry. People were for asking me to sign the book. Oh my god, I can't even, like, I don't even know how to I was ecstatic. I was just so happy.
Yeah, because it is so timely and it speaks to the young people and all the people. Yeah? That we mentioned it before, and what you are doing is a great job, and you are always welcome to our show. And we are very happy to have you in here, and definitely we'll have other occasions like this talking about things that matter to us. And it was great talking to you. I really appreciate talking to you. I'm really happy when I talk to you.
It was so great talking to you too, Tess. Thank you so much for inviting me back on the show. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming to the opening gala of the book launch. I know I invited you, and that was amazing that you came. But yeah, thank you so much for all the support. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fozia, for giving us the opportunity to talk to you, and we learned quite a bit, and you're quite inspirational in terms of the work, and we really appreciate. We really thank you very much, and we wish you continued success. We hope you have enjoyed that, and until next episode.